Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here, and today we are discussing an issue that has been plaguing the game for quite some time. One of the most infamous bugs in the system, and that is the shells falling short bug. So, why am I talking about this first off, and then what is it? So, why am I talking about this? So, little while ago, a few days ago, I tried out Lesta's client, Mir Karabli, just to see what was going over there and see, is the grass truly greener on this side? You go check out that video in and of itself if you want to, know more about that. And in the comments for that video, there was more than a few of you guys saying, "Hey, Sealord, did you notice if your aim was a little bit better? Were your shells connecting more?" And I thought, well, I only got to tier 5, so tier 5 battleship guns aren't all that accurate anyways, so it felt about the same. And then usually followed up behind that little part of the comment was, did you know that Lesta fixed the shells falling short bug? When I saw that, I was like, did they really? Because that would be interesting if they did. Now, the shells falling short bug, what is it? If you have somehow never heard of it, you probably experienced it, and maybe you just didn't notice it. Maybe you just thought it was a little bit of lag, which it might be. But it is when your shells fall short. It's pretty self-explanatory. But I guess the better explanation of it is, have you ever had a target perfectly in your sights? You put your reticle right on the midpoint of their hull, right where their juicy little citadel is located. You click the mouse, the shells fly, and for some unexpected reason, every single shell falls like half a kilometer or 300 meters shy of the target ship, just far enough away to where you nary scratch his paint. If you have, that's the shells falling short bug. Again, pretty self-explanatory. So obviously that is quite frustrating. You can find more than a few instances of it happening to myself here from the live stream VODs, either on YouTube or Twitch. I streamed both of them at the same time. So pick your poison. You can go dredge through that and find probably a clip of that happening from, if not this week's live stream, last week's live stream for sure. So it's something that does happen somewhat regularly. From my experience. Does it happen every single game? Not really, but usually once or twice a week when I'm playing, and I'll get home from work, around 3 o'clock. I'll sit down to make the next day's video. Usually I've also been playing the game for a couple hours just to get some B-roll footage, or especially if, I'm trying to get footage for a certain ship. That's about how much I'm playing the game, every day, 2 to 3, sometimes 4 hours a day, and, making videos and such. So for someone that plays of that level, I usually see it once or twice a week. And of course it is incredibly frustrating, especially when, you're in a battleship and that happens, because you got a friggin' 30-second plus reload usually to get your next salvo up. And typically when you fire at some guy that's selling broadside and he gets to survive afterwards, they tend to turn away or angle in or angle out, and then therefore, you can't get a nice follow-up shot. So of course it's incredibly frustrating. Now, what causes it? Well, if I were to ask 50 Warships players, hey, shells falling short bug, what causes it? I would probably get 50 different answers. There are a couple of popular theories. One is that it's something screwy going on with the servers. And what you might notice is that usually when it does happen, that little aiming reticle you see on the minimap gets a little jittery. And sometimes it'll bounce just a little bit down or a little bit above the target for some reason. And of course that's the aiming point on the minimap where the game thinks you are aiming at. So when that happens and then you fire, it's like, okay, is it a little bit of lag, little bit of screwiness going on with the server tick, which we've seen before in the game. If you've never seen the the railgun bug, That's what happens with that. You're outrunning the server tick when you, abuse the camera like that. If you don't want the railgun, bug is, well, this, if I can find the clip of it, where you can, snap the camera from 2 kilometers from your ship up to a target, say 15 kilometers away. The game thinks you're firing at the target 2 kilometers away, but it sends your shells to the target 15 kilometers away with the properties of the shells if they had been fired at 2 kilometers away. And, you can fire, like cruiser guns at a battleship that's 15 kilometers away using this bug. And since it thinks you're firing at them from 2 kilometers away, you get better pins, and the shells just kind of zoom across the surface of the water like they're freaking anti-ship missiles, right? So we've seen that happen before. The other leading theory is that it's something to do with the aim assist in the game. There's a lot of aim assist in this game, believe it or not, because how in the world do you translate, you sitting at your computer using a mouse to aim battleship guns? How do you do that? A healthy amount of aim assist. Which is obviously a much different approach than a game like War Thunder Naval takes. War Thunder Naval, you have to manually set the range and take into account your ship and the enemy ship's motion. And World of Warships, you look at the ship, the game locks onto it, takes care of that for you. Or you click X. And then you get to make the minute changes in your aim as far as, how far forward, how far back, and how far up and how far down you want to fire. And you have to, of course, anticipate the enemy player's movements. But you don't have to take into account, again, their speed, their current speed, I should say, and their range. Again, beyond adjusting your aim up and down and left and right. And you can see this by locking onto a ship, either by looking at it, letting the game automatically lock on, or hitting X. And if you actually, hit right mouse and turn your camera around, you notice that your guns are automatically tracking that ship now. So, obviously, having all that get translated, into the arcade aiming system that we have, there could be some silliness going on there. And sometimes, allegedly, you can fix the bug by just tapping X, locking on, locking off, locking back on again. It refreshes the aim assist system. Allegedly, that works. So, okay, maybe it's something to do with that. Another theory is that it's just kind of some spaghetti code going on, which I guess is kind of like the second theory, which, granted, we have seen some very goofy things going on with the coding of this game in the past. Shoot. How many times has some random change been implemented that breaks something that's not even related to it? Like, if you guys remember, what was it that was changed that completely threw off the torpedo reticles? Something was changed. Wasn't really anything to do with the torpedo reticle, but destroyers' torpedo reticles were now off, and you could kind of like curve torpedoes with this new bug that happened for a while. Then it was subsequently fixed. How many times has something similar like that happened in game, where some unrelated change goes through and then everything breaks, right? Or not everything, but some things break. It's just wild what happens with the code of the game sometimes. So, what's going on with the aiming bug? Well, I think that it's probably not any one issue. It's probably a combination of issues. Like, sure, probably something going on with the server tick and the server refresh rate. Probably something going on with the aim assist system. And probably a little bit of healthy spaghetti coding on there. Because it does really feel like the game's code is held together by some scotch tape, zip ties, a little bit of holy water, some incense, and a couple of prayers here and there in various languages, right? It really does feel like that at times. And there's probably a little healthy amount of confirmation bias going in there, because when you do miss those shots that really feel like they should have connected, was it really you? Or was it the aiming bug? Or the shells falling short bug? Whatever you want to call it, right? Nah, I aimed right. It's a game screwing me over. Or, nah, that's not RNG, that's the bug, right? Yeah, from my experience, when this bug does pop up from time to time, which it does, I'm not denying it exists. It obviously exists. There's way too many clips of it out there. Again, on my own channel of this happening to say it doesn't exist. But to say it's affecting you like every single game back to back to back to back, from my experience, not really. I mean, granted, I have a better internet connection than most. I pay for that small business internet, right? So there's that, and again, maybe that has something to do with it. But it's usually quite noticeable when it does happen, because the way the game works is that when you click fire, the game generates a dispersion ellipse around your point of aim based on two things. One, the sigma of your gun. Well, it doesn't really do that. It generates the dispersion ellipse based upon, your ship's dispersion pattern and the minimum and maximum dispersion of your guns. And then the sigma comes into play, when it's trying to calculate how many shells are going to land toward the middle of that dispersion ellipse. So a normal dispersion ellipse will have, your shells landing around that one point of aim. So if you're having shells land, long and short on your target, it's probably not the bug screwing you over. It's either your aim or, true to God, RNG. The shells landing short bug, what you'll typically see is that, when the center point of that aim is shifted down or is shifted high, and the majority of your shells keep going high or keep going low, that's probably the bug. Now, of course, with RNG, you could have your shells go high and you could have your shells go low too, which makes it hard to, pick out, hey, this was the bug, or hey, that's just kind of some screwy RNG, which definitely makes it hard to, nail down what exactly the bug is. Again, in my experience, it's typically a pretty noticeable, like all the shells went far short of the target. Not like, hey, oh my god, I just scraped his paint a little bit, right? So that's usually what I see happen with the bug. Can it be fixed in one simple thing? Sure, if Wargaming could figure out what exactly is causing it. Of course, there's no shortage of claims that Wargaming is just keeping it in the game because they like it for whatever reason. Could that be true? Sure, it could be. They could just say, hey, screw it, it's RNG based, they can't really tell the difference anyway, and why waste all the time trying to track it down and, patch it when we have, the umpteenth premium ship to release this month, or we gotta get that new tech line out. It could be that, I guess. I would like to think that Wargaming would, want to, give us the best quality product, but of course, yeah. Or it could just be a, confirmation bias, right? And if Lesta did truly fix it, it's like, well, how do we know they did? How do we know they aren't just saying that to, make themselves look better? You'd have to, and maybe someone has done it. If someone has done it, please let me know in the comments down below, because I'd love to see what they did. You'd have to, go into the Lesta client, play thousands of battles and random battles, and record your salvos and see, do all my salvos land appropriately, or did I get screwed over by this aiming bug? Lester could just be saying that to save face. Who knows, right? Because it is hard to track down exactly when is this happening and when is it not happening. Again, typically when I see it, it's pretty noticeable, but maybe it is happening to a lesser degree. It's hard to track down, is what I'm saying, when you have a game that has so much RNG based around it. So, guys, that's my 2 cents on the aiming bug. A little look back at, again, one of the most problematic bugs in World Warships history. So let me know what you guys think about all that in the comments down below. Hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.